Let me check this volume real quick. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the daily live stream. Say what's up as you come in. Say where you're watching from. Hit that like button most of all. It does a ton for the channel. It does a ton for the video. Hashtag hit the algo. What's up, you guys? So we got a couple of clips to jump into. Obviously, still the world and a lot of people are still very heavy because of Charlie Kirk's death. So we still have some news surrounded around it, because that is just most of the news that we see. Amongst a little bit is wrapped into there. We got some things going on heavily with the churches right now and some Christians. So, and all of this is to be expected because, you know, who it was that passed away. That fact that he belonged to the body of Christ. So we're kind of seeing some of the fruits of that, if you will. All right, so let's jump into the first clip. Welcome to the daily live stream, guys. Make sure, like I said, you hit that like button when you come in. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV. I am your host, Kieran Smith. Call me Q, and welcome back to the corner. So first up, we have Fox News. Shout out to Fox News. The Five. This is demonic. So the Five from Fox News are talking about some demonic activity that they're seeing in the earth today, and they are referencing some of this. Yes, is to Charlie Kirk's assassination. So we'll take a look at that. You can see right here, the banner says, Judge Kirk suspect due back in court September 29th. So we'll take a look at that. We'll switch gears and we'll jump over to Aaron Page. Shout out to Aaron Page. We reacted him to the channel before. We reacted him last night, actually. He covered the Charlie Kirk situation, just took an even darker turn. So he is reacting to something that Candace Owens did. I believe she did this. If it wasn't yesterday, it was a day or two ago. It was very recent. But there's some updated things that Candace Owens is talking about that Aaron Page covered, so we'll take a look at that. Then we got shout out to the Biblical Conservative. We react to the Biblical Conservative here on the channel before. Black pastors call out the pastors that claim Charlie Kirk was racist. This clip is extremely important, especially for the Black and brown community of people who look like me and similar to me, because this rhetoric is driving me nuts. It really is. It's the only reason why it's not probably driving me insane is because I know a lot of Black and brown people are not very informed about Charlie Kirk. So when I say a lot, I don't mean everyone. I just mean a lot. A lot of Black and brown people just aren't well informed of him. They don't know a lot about him. They're not very knowledgeable of him or what he was doing before he was assassinated. And if anything, you've had this situation make some Black people struggle because they think that they're going to their church, and their church is exalting a racist white supremacist. Like, if anything, this is what you have going on. So I thought that this clip is very important. And then we'll finish off the clip with a Christian clip from for the live stream. Shout out to The Process. Philip Anthony Mitchell breaks his silence on Charlie Kirk. So we'll take a look at that. Shout out to Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. All right, guys, let's jump into the first clip of the live stream. Shout out to Fox the Five. Kirk suspect due back in court September 29th. They're talking about the demonic. All right, let's see where the audio is at here. All right, let's take a listen.
Well, just moments ago, the suspected killer of Charlie Kirk formally charged with aggravated murder and 6 other counts. Now, unfortunately, some on the left continue to cheer the killing. FBI Director Kash Patel and Senator Cory Booker. It hasn't been about him, so he made it about himself, getting into a shouting match over the rise of the violent rhetoric. Watch.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
fighting this country,
it is
I
my
follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unified-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are the
you can try all
to the
you
division
want
in this
to
country.
not take
It is my
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
have
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
elected
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what my
you
time
tell-
is. You can't lecture me.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be in charge of
I'm
my
not
job,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not afraid of you.
Ooh, tough guy. And as numerous workers get fired for posting onto social media disgusting celebrations of the murder of Charlie Kirk, some folks in the media are now suddenly worried about cancel culture. Watch this.
Most of these people are not public figures. They were anonymous until a few days ago when this conservative campaign organized online targeting people that it says are attacking Kirk. Look, this is a new form of cancel culture.
This does seem to be turning into a very aggressive attempt to purge not just government officials, specifically people who work in education, who work in healthcare, who work in government. It's already getting a little bit out of hand.
Yeah. Ooh, I can smell his beard from here. Nasty. And this is a new low. Last night, Jimmy Kimmel implied the suspected killer of Charlie Kirk was MAGA.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The guy who used to watch women bounce on trampolines, Greg, has turned into a laughable political pundit. What did you make of Jimmy Kimmel's comment?
Well, he didn't imply it. He said it. I might have to watch Kimmel tonight to see what he has to say about this, because if he doesn't address what he did, he's done. I mean, this is a great case study, though, of cognitive dissonance. How can such a smart, successful man be so wrong? How can he live in this kind of denial? It's because he knows he's wrong. And if you strip that away, what's left? If you wrestle him away from this delusion that he's stuck with for years about Trump supporters, about Trump, about Republicans in general, what's left? What's underneath that? The realization that you are the bad guy in the movie. You're not a defender of democracy. You're a defender of destructive delusions. I mean, hate to tell you, buddy, but the guy who shot and killed Charlie Kirk was more likely a fan of yours than he was in MAGA. I think the hardest part is getting people to acknowledge their role in this brainwash. But once you get past that denial, you're left with something that nobody wants to deal with. And I think what we do as conservatives and libertarians and the right is you set an example. You gotta offer a way out for these people that are on that side, who are sick and tired of feeling miserable under the thrall of this mental poison that Paul mentioned. When you go to turning point events, how could you not want what they have? They're happy, they're joyful, and they're impressive. Lastly, about this Stelter thing, this is rich coming from a network that sent people after Trump supporters down to their mobile homes to out them. They had no problems with cancel culture. This is not relying on the muscle of media. This is an organic thing, just exposing what they are saying to their employees and their employers, and the employees have every right. So the point is, I go back to that phrase, mutually assured destruction. We want you to stop doing this to us. So we're giving you a dose of your medicine and you're gonna take it.
All right, so obviously Stephen Colbert, his show was canceled. He's only going to be on for a few more months. He was awarded a Primetime Emmy on Sunday night. Do you think ABC, looking at this and seeing MSNBC fire Matthew Dowd, is it easier for them to pull the plug on someone like Jimmy Kimmel, given the political and media environment we're in right now?
It's certainly easier for them to give him an opportunity to walk it back or to try and clarify exactly what he meant, and more importantly, to tell the truth about what actually occurred here. This comes down to the typical leftist tactic of never wanting to take responsibility for anything. They gin up all of this foment all of this narrative, and now all of a sudden something horrific has happened and it's their guy, and they want to say, oh no, it's a MAGA guy. Which is not true. It's a lie. And they've done this time after time with violent cases after violent cases. And when it doesn't suit their narrative to try and lie and say it's someone from the right, they justify it, just like they justified $2 billion worth of rioting, damage, and murder of police officers in the summer of 2020. So they are masters of projection. When they say it's the conservatives, the right wings, political ecosphere doing this, they're actually talking about themselves. They're holding up a mirror and they don't like what they see. And instead of just taking some responsibility and saying, how can we prevent this from happening again? We have a sick problem inside the left. The data proves it out. Polling after polling shows that a significant number of people on the left justify political violence, not just getting a little violent by destroying property, but by murdering those who they disagree with. And we've seen this occur. So they're gonna have to figure it out, but they're lying about what's actually going on.
All right, but you have a large number of younger people, Jesse, who they watch Jimmy Kimmel, maybe they watch a clip on TikTok, and they believe that this alleged assassin was in fact a member of the MAGA movement, and those are the same people who feel that political violence is justified. It is a 4-to-1 margin, liberals to conservatives who say that it is okay to either torch a Tesla dealership, possibly injure or kill Elon Musk or Donald Trump, or to harm or kill someone that you politically disagree with. How do you change that?
Well, you're seeing a massive disinformation campaign run by the legacy media to try to detach themselves from this killer, and it's not working. We exposed it immediately, and it's been debunked, and they're never going to get away with any of this stuff anymore. They are over. In terms of people, you have a right to say Charlie Kirk deserved to die. You have a right to say you're glad he died. But you don't have a right to work at this company. You don't have a right to teach my kids. You don't have a right to serve in government. You are basically telling the world you're evil. You are telling the world you can't be trusted. You are telling the world you are comfortable with cold-blooded killing. Now, do you want someone like that sitting next to you in the office? If CNN had a producer after 9/11 that was going around saying, yeah, the chickens have come home to roost, you think he'd last one day at that office? What about Irina, the Ukrainian? Could you say she had it coming? Glad she died. Or, I'm so glad Epstein got a hold of all these girls. Thank goodness. Or, you know what, the Palisades fire, that should have burned more. It's the same thing. And you would never tolerate that kind of lack of humanity with people that you are spending close proximity with. Because who knows what else they're capable of. This is demonic, and they are threats to your physical safety, to your children's physical safety. And so there's nothing wrong with expelling these people from polite society. They should be banished, they should be punished, and they should be sanctioned. Evil must be confronted. Now, the Department of Justice can take action when it comes to Antifa. Where do they get the body armor from? Who's paying for all these gas masks that are being shipped in caseloads to these riots in Los Angeles? Ever think of where Ryan Ruth got all that money to get all those computers, phones, and rifles, and how he afforded to fly all across the world to Ukraine? How he afforded to live in Ukraine for all that time? Follow the money. And the left's scared that we're going to follow the money because they're afraid of what we might find.
All right, and to that point, Antifa being designated as a terrorist organization, what is the potential backlash, and is that a sound idea for this administration?
It is, and the problem here is that it's a little bit institutional. Nobody wants to make those cases. Why? Because they're money cases, as Jesse is saying, right? And the statutes, they're not sexy. This is not cinematic police work, right? It's going to be money laundering, tax charges, really dull stuff like that. Who wins football games? It's not necessarily the quarterback running all over the place with the highlight reels. It's in the trenches, right? That's who wins. The front line, that's where you win or lose. The money is the front line. You know that there are guys who live in Shanghai, American citizens, who fund the co-founder of Code Pink is married to a guy named Roy Singer who lives in Shanghai. He's a devout Maoist. His niece is the head of Jews from Mamdani. The money's flying all over the place. We don't follow any of it. You're telling me all of this stuff is legitimate? All of this money is accounted for? They're paying the taxes on all of this? All of this stuff is being funded by naive billionaires, the wives of naive billionaires who have since been divorced. I won't say any names. And it flies all over the place. What you need, remember they wanted to hire all those IRS agents and everybody had a stroke? Hire them. But don't point them at us because most of us are paying our taxes. Point them at this ecosystem that has caused our campuses to erupt, that fund this kind of crap that we're seeing relative to Charlie. Because the right doesn't have that ecosystem. We all know that. You start a right-leaning foundation right now, you're going to be out on Broadway with a cup in your hand. You're not going to get this kind of money. So this is where you got to go. They're not sexy cases, but this is where you got to do it.
But you know what is cinematic and sexy? A love-struck former Mormon falls in love with a trans male. This is American Crime Story. It's a Netflix show, right? It's a cross between Romeo and Juliet and Neil Jordan's Mona Lisa with natural born killers thrown into it. That's what you're going to see, because that's what Hollywood will do.
That's right. Yep.
That's
Click
gonna
here
be
to
annoying.
subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Okay, there was one more. Why is Negro close to gold? Right. Okay, so this one, Face the Nation. Shout out to Face the Nation. Full interview, Bill O'Reilly on Rising Evil across the globe. So it says, Bill O'Reilly on Rising Evil across the globe, Charlie Kirk shooting and more. This was one thing I was looking for us to look at today.
Bill O'Reilly, welcome to the Takeout. It's good to see you. The book is Confronting Evil. As you know, evil both fascinates and horrifies the human mind. This is kind of a study of that. Is there a common thread you'd like my audience to know about when you think about and when it thinks about large-scale evil?
There are a few threads, Major. A book takes a year for me to research and write. About a year ago, I said to myself, you know, evil is rising in the United States and around the world. Two things are driving that: Putin and Donald Trump, and the reactions to both men. And I said, you know, we're in an age now which is not quite akin to the 1930s, when evil just got out of control because of the Great Depression. And you saw the rise of the dictators, Mussolini and Hitler and Tojo and Franco, and 100 million dead after World War II. We're not close to that, but what's happening in the world is a rise in evil. So let me profile 15 of the worst, all right, and link them into today. All of them are linked to today. What they did, even as far back as Caligula and Genghis Khan, what they did affects how we live today. So that's how the book came about.
And when you say we are at a point like the 1930s, what are the similarities? What are the important differences?
Well, social media is the big difference. Obviously, evil can exist now in a very dark place when that option did not exist before. And the evil on display in Nazi Germany, for example, was, you could see it right on the street. Guys in the brown shirts walking around, beating up people. You can see all that. We have a silent evil now, where horrible individuals gather together and do horrible things in cyberspace. And these things sometimes translate into violence, like the Charlie Kirk assassination, the assassination attempts on Donald Trump, the firebombing of Governor Shapiro's house in Pennsylvania. You're getting a crossover. The mentally ill people are being spurred on by the social media. That is new. But the concept of evil, which in the definition is important, evil is when a human being, all right, hurts another human being for no reason and enjoys it. They live for it. They like to see people in pain or in death or whatever it may be. That's evil. In the Catholic Church, it's defined as a mortal sin.
Right.
And all throughout history, good people have been charged with trying to stop evil or diminish it.
The obligation.
But that is now not as intense as it used to be. A lot of people looking away. A lot of people don't want to have anything to do with it. It's not my fight, whatever it may be. I'm creating a bubble world. I can live in a bubble world, and I don't want to hear about it. That has enabled and empowered evil.
Contextualize what you just said, Bill, in the context of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and then what has now begun to filter through America, which is people posting about that on social media. losing their jobs either in the public or private sector, and a conversation about what does that mean and what are the limits there, either in what you express or what you can be penalized for expressing.
In the public arena, you cannot practice hate speech. That's what it comes down to. So you can't threaten anybody. You can't say, I'm gonna, kill you and your family. That doesn't come under the First Amendment. There are statutes almost everywhere to prevent that kind of a thing. That's what you saw in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk. That the people who despised him, mostly on the radical left, were pleased that he was dead and that his widow and children lives are altered forever in a very negative way. That made them happy. Now, I chalk that up as mental illness. That doesn't excuse it, but I don't know anybody who's happy. In my world, I'm selective on who I associate with, but I don't know anybody like that. And I don't go on the internet or social media. That's not where I am. I'm a Luddite. I wouldn't know how to get there. Okay?
Right.
But when I saw it from a guy like Stephen King, here's a man who's very accomplished, and he's coming out and he's saying, well, Charlie Kirk wanted to stone gay people to death. Well, Charlie Kirk never said that. And
No.
why would you even bring that up?
He sure did it.
In the terrible aftermath of this assassination, Mr. King, what's wrong with you? So a corporation or any institution has an obligation to its employees and its customers not to accept that kind of behavior. And so people lost their jobs, and I don't want the witch hunt. I wrote Killing the Witches. I don't think the witch hunt gets you anywhere. But if people are going to go out and they're going to practice hate speech in the public arena, they're going to pay a price.
Bill, you said at the top of this conversation, two things are going on in the world right now. One is Putin, and one is Donald Trump and the reaction to Donald Trump. Walk me and my audience through what you mean by this thing going on in the world, Donald Trump and the reaction to him.
Well, Donald Trump's a very complicated guy, and as you know, I've known him for 35 years. I got summoned last week to Yankee Stadium for the 9/11 game to talk with the president, which is always, flattering to me. I've been summoned by 4 presidents. You probably have more.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
But you know,
yeah.
When any president asks you as an American citizen to come and have a conversation, you come and have a conversation.
You come and have a conversation, absolutely.
Right. And the conversation was about Charlie Kirk and separately Putin. And I don't know whether you know this or not, but I traveled to Beijing in May at the behest of the Chinese government to talk about détente between the United States and China. And the reason they wanted me to do that, I paid my own way and everything like that, was they watch me on YouTube. And then they'll have access to President Trump, and they know that we have discussions. Now, and discussions are private, but I can tell you that Donald Trump felt very deeply about what happened to Charlie Kirk on a number of different ways. The primary way, and you can read my column on BillO'Reilly.com, I spell it out in more detail, is that Trump identified with that because it happened to him. Mm-hmm. And it was like a reoccurring nightmare that came. And he's not an emotional man, Donald Trump, but he was trying to process how to position, in lieu of what happened to him, going forward with Mr. Kirk. And I offered him my opinion. He asked. I don't give my opinion unless asked. Okay. On Putin, it's a different situation because I know Putin's a psychopath, and I predicted very early on. You may remember an interview I did with Donald Trump.
I do.
Soon after, when I told him face to face that Putin's a killer, and this was going to be a problem. And that was 12 years ago?
Yep. Then candidate Trump brushed it off, said, well, there are a lot of killers.
And Trump contained him for the first 4 years of his term. But Putin's a different guy now. Evil always deteriorates a person, always. Because once you are powerful and you are promoting evil, you go down. And ultimately, you'll destroy yourself. Okay? but you'll take a lot of people with you. And that's what's happened to Putin. I firmly believe Putin would use a nuke, and so does the president. Now that changes every equation.
I'm not surprised.
And so we discussed it in a sense of global politics, of what can be done to bring this madman in line. He is a psychopath. He enjoys women and children being slaughtered from the sky in Ukraine. He likes it. Okay? And people have a hard time grasping that level of evil, but in order to deal with it, you have to grasp it. You have to understand it. And that's why Putin's on the cover of my book, with the Ayatollah, Mao, and Hitler. And this guy is a danger to the world.
What, if anything, does the Mao Zedong story tell us about modern China?
Well, when I went to China, his picture was everywhere. He killed 20 million Chinese. You imagine the United States, if an American killed 20 million.
2 million, 1 million, 500,000. Their picture wouldn't be all over.
His picture was everywhere. I mean, it's stunning. But the Chinese people have no clue. They don't know that happened. That's forbidden territory. There is no press, there is no education as far as fact base is concerned. He's the founder of the Communist Party, we love him. But the current Chinese leadership, in my opinion, and I know them, they're not at that level. And the United States and Americans don't understand what the Chinese are all about. And that's why I was summoned over there, because I do. And it was a meeting with 13 Politburo members. And they asked me, well, if we do this, what President Trump going to do? And I told them, you know me, not a diplomat.
Right.
Just lit it right out. This is what's going to happen. And then, of course, I debriefed the president when I came back, and I told the Chinese I was going to do that. I said, don't invite me, because everything that we say in this room is going to go back to the president of the United States, and they were okay with it.
Bill, you mentioned no facts in China. How about in America? Do we live in a fact-rooted America?
No. We are the United States propaganda now. Yeah, I mean, some of us, Major, and I put you in that category, and I'm not kissing your butt or anything. I've known you for a long time. Some of us really want to know what the truth is, but a lot of us don't. And I'm talking about media people now. And a lot of media people sell out for the money. So you're told what to say, and they say it. They're little parrots. And that's gotten worse and worse and worse, by the way. So they go on, they go, okay, now what's the line today? What am I supposed to say? And then they spit it right out at you. And it's hard for Americans being so busy and raising families and working, don't like to cut through all that fog, all that propaganda. And they hear stuff and they read it on the internet, and they a lot of it just accept it as truth. And that's very distressing to me. But I'll tell you why, it's an upside for O'Reilly. All right, my operation is the most successful independent news agency in the world, based on revenue. And I've been able to be that because I don't do that propaganda stuff. I'm not an ideologue. I don't favor anybody. I try to do what's right for the country and back it up with facts. And that's really worked for us. But I'd say most people, they kind of live in a delusional world, and then they buy into certain ideologies, whether it's MAGA or progressive left, and you hard time blowing them out of there.
In terms of phraseology and definition, Bill, is there a practical and important difference between the left in America and the radical left?
Yeah, there's a difference, but you don't hear from the moderate left, because all the money and all the amplification is on the radical left. So the big Soros money and the big dark money going in, they're not going to agencies that are traditionally liberal. They're going to, let's blow it up. And then that's amplified on social media. They want clicks. Well, who's going to get the clicks? The people that are saying the most outrageous stuff. And it works on the right too. But the right doesn't have the centrality that the progressive left has. And plus you got 5 networks that are sympathetic to the progressive left. And one network that's sympathetic to the traditional conservatives. So you're heavily outnumbered there as well.
You have a contents page, as every book does, and there were 3 that jumped out at me because there is a kind of comforting American notion that we are a flawed people, but we've never been an evil people. But there are 3 American institutions or Americans in your book. The slavers of the coast off New Orleans, Nathan Bedford Forrest, and the robber barons. All from your orientation, purveyors of unforgivable evil.
I think that's accurate. The slave trade is the worst thing that ever happened in the United States by far. And the 2 guys who ran it, we profiled, one lived in Virginia, the other in New Orleans, became the richest men in the world. And they knew exactly what they were doing. And they didn't care. They didn't care to tear families apart. They didn't care if you were hanging slaves from a tree. They didn't care, as long as they got paid. So we go through that step by step, and where do you see how it worked? On the robber barons, I included that chapter because of Teddy Roosevelt. I want to put some good in the book, unrelenting bad, and some good. And Roosevelt went up against J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller and Carnegie. He went up against them and he won. He beat them. Because what they were doing was squeezing the American worker. And they were dying by the thousands in the mines and the factories. They had kids working 8 years old. They're exploiting them. It was horrible. Meanwhile, the Gilded Age, they got 18 homes all over the place, these guys. They knew exactly what they were doing. Rockefeller was freezing people out of their homes so he could boost the price of oil artificially. Come on. And that's not taught in school. We are a noble nation. There's no doubt in that. We free billions of people. But those things, and then Nathan Bedford Forrest, one of the biggest war criminals of all time, the Confederate general, who founded the Ku Klux Klan. And again, you go Nathan Bedford Forrest, they're like statues of them in places.
Right.
It's crazy, because people don't know. So my job as a journalist historian is to shed, to tear down the shroud. I don't want Americans to be like the Chinese and they don't know anything. All right, we need to know as much as possible. And that's why we're the best-selling nonfiction authors on earth.
Right.
With the Killing books and now the Confronting books.
19 #1 bestsellers. That is a formidable record. On the slavers, the reason I thought that was so important is you were not talking about the transshipment, you were talking about what had already been outlawed, which was the importation, but the trade of enslaved Americans who were here, which is a part and a dimension of that story, much of which is not taught in schools, but that is really not taught. And I thought you admirably brought that to the surface.
Thank you, and I appreciate you reading the book, because a lot of interviewers don't. The phrase "up the river"?
Yeah.
The cliche? Well, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Because when you were sold in New Orleans, you went up the river, the Mississippi River, to whatever plantation bought you. And the real devastation, and again, it's in play to this day in America. So the 1619 stuff, they're on the wrong track here. They've lost it, okay? But the devastation that slavery caused the African American community still lingers. The bitterness, the disassociation, the fracture of families, all of the stuff that happened after the Civil War that Nathan Bedford Forrest contributed to with the Ku Klux Klan, that's all in the DNA. And it's important for all Americans, no matter what color you are, to understand that. Okay, because once you understand it, then you can deal with it more effectively. So I'm not buying that, slavery built America. That's ridiculous. What, did Boston just appear?
Right.
Because slaves were there? No.
No.
But there is a reality that we Americans should face, is that some of us, Native Americans, Black Americans, other minorities, have a much rougher road of it. And we, as fair people, noble people, have an obligation to try to mitigate that a bit.
And when President Trump says, as he has recently, that inclusion of stories like this are by their very nature hostile to America, are anti-American, and should be in some way policed out of either the Smithsonian or other institutions, where do you come down?
I come down on the truth has to be told. So there's no question that in many museums in Washington and other cities across the country, there's an anti-American strain. That they put up the event as everybody accepted this. Everybody was down with this. No. 1 million Northerners were killed or severely wounded trying to free the slaves.
Right.
What Trump wants, and I know this because I talk to him about it all the time, the history of it, is a balance. He doesn't object to telling Americans the truth about their country, but he wants the whole truth, not just a ideological presentation like 1619. You don't want that. So I think he's got a valid argument, but it depends on what the policy is you're talking about. You want me to give you a real contemporized view of this for your CBS audience?
Please.
Donald Trump has the power to put troops on streets in Chicago, Memphis, whatever other city he wants. And the Supreme Court will rule that way because of what U.S. Grant did. U.S. Grant, after Andrew Johnson, one of the worst presidents ever, ignored the brutalization of blacks after the Civil War. Totally ignored it.
Yep.
Okay? Grant came in and said, you know what? We're going to stop this. He sent federal troops to South Carolina. Didn't ask permission to wipe out the Klan. And they did. And they did it under the banner of public safety. The same banner that Trump is using to stop this horrendous violent crime in Chicago. Now, he hasn't sent them there yet because they don't want to be reversed by the Supreme Court with posse comitatus. So they're trying to get in. But theoretically, he has the power to do it based upon what happened to the Klan and U.S. Grant.
Bill, the last one on your list in the table of contents is the drug cartels. And I want to talk about that for a moment because the Trump administration has identified more than one as terrorist organizations, therefore subject to U.S. military might. There's been an episode of that off the coast of Venezuela. Evaluate the drug cartels in your book and how it is playing out in real time in America.
LegalZoom makes it simple to start an LLC in 3 easy steps. Just answer a few basic questions, and we'll take care of the details. Plus, LegalZoom is a one-stop shop for helping you run and protect your business, including access to attorneys and CPAs. Start your LLC today.
Yeah, bub. Yeah, bub.
And on international waters today.
Well, Trump's again within his constitutional rights to take that power because he took it, and so did Bush the younger, with the jihadists, with ISIS, with the Revolutionary Guard in Iran, with Al-Qaeda. They were all designated terror groups. Boom, if you read my book, Killing the Killers, as soon as that happened, the jihad was on the run. And Obama and Trump wiped them out. Not completely, but about 90%. Using that law that they were designated terror groups. Well, what's the difference between ISIS and the drug cartels, which are killing millions of people all over the world? Millions, way more than the jihadists killed. And the government of Mexico and Venezuela and Colombia, Ecuador, Honduras, they're not going to stop it. They're not going to stop it. Some of those countries don't even try. Some of them are in business, Honduras and Venezuela, with the cartels. So what are we supposed to do? Let this happen? I suggested to Donald Trump in his first term that he was reluctant Nobody believed. I was having dinner with him in Mar-a-Lago. I go, you gotta get these guys. Obrador's not gonna do it in Mexico. He's not. He's afraid of them, and he was. And so was Sheinbaum. Okay, you gotta do it. Just slap the designation at terrorist groups. Bang, take them out. All you have to do is take out 4 or 5 of them, and the rest will just go into the woodwork. Okay, and he didn't want to do it. Trump goes, I don't want to, be insulting for the country. And I said, how many dead people you gotta have here? And now with the fentanyl and all that. So I think Donald Trump's instincts are not to over-explain. A lot of people don't know why he's doing what he's doing. But he's on the right side of the court on these things. I don't think he's going to be overturned.
There's a reason Bill O'Reilly and his co-author Josh Hammer have so many #1 bestsellers, and Bill has explained it to us and shown us why in this half hour. Bill, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in, Major. Very kind of you to do it.
We all knew that the political temperature in this country was high. Did you think it was this bad to have something like this happen?
Unfortunately, I did. We did not expect this shooting to happen, but it does not come as a surprise. When the President of the United States was, there's 2 attempted assassinations on his life, and this rhetoric on social media, as we discussed earlier, these type of discussions are all over the place on social media, whether you're talking to Democrats or Republicans. So it's not if this will happen, it's when, and that is a huge problem in our overall civil discourse.
Now, you knew Charlie Kirk. You actually invited him to Michigan.
Yes.
Talk about that trip.
So he came to Michigan at Michigan State University. If you look at Michigan State University's political leaning, it shifted more than 10 points towards conservatives, and it's in one of the most contested seats of Congressman Tom Barrett, and we were able to win that seat this time. So he came to Michigan State, and we were running out of dissenting questions. We had people come up there, support him. We had almost 2,000 people there, and people coming and going, asking questions, learning from him. And the best thing that people said was he didn't tell us what to think. He taught us how to think and to question what we already knew.
He was a controversial figure, though. He said a lot of things that stirred a lot of pots.
So he was controversial, but he was sharing what he truly believed. You didn't have to agree with him. You can question your own thinking with him, and you were able to really, understand at a deeper level of what you think is true, and if you were told what to think, and if not, how you can really process your thinking.
How would you say we can turn down the political temperature in America?
It is #1 up to the news and the media. We need to stop giving attention to radicalism, giving attention to people who are saying things just for clicks. We need to focus on unity, whether it's Congress or at the state level, pushing for bills and legislation that are helping our students, helping our seniors, helping our overall, cost of living, and make sure that our legislators are not just focusing on getting clicks and attention, but are focusing on policy that is going to help our country.
I think about local news being exceptional when it comes to that, because we are truly trying to cover the issues that matter to people.
Absolutely.
And I understand what you're saying about some of the media folks who are out there. But isn't there a responsibility when it comes to the users of social media, where that, I would say, have far more people on there that are fiery than perhaps those who are just watching a cable show, right?
Absolutely, and the problem is that a lot of these, the supporters of this radicalism on social media hide behind fake accounts or hide behind, what they truly believe. And the issue is that we need to figure out why we're giving so much attention, whether it's the social media platform using bot accounts to give attention to radical posts, or just users hiding behind what they truly believe. We need to make sure that we're giving attention to real solutions and real problems.
So what happens if someone sees something on social media that's just abhorrent and awful? What should someone do when they see it?
First of all, not interact with it. Don't give attention to it. Just keep scrolling, because the more you heart things, retweet things, repost things, the more attention you're giving to it, and more you're pushing it on the algorithm. Unfortunately, social media is built in a way that the people who say the craziest things and get the most likes and responses are the ones that are actually going to get more attention and get boost in the algorithm.
What's something about Charlie Kirk that hasn't been reported that you'd like people to know about, knowing him personally?
I'd like to share that he is completely unscripted. He went to our Michigan State rally and he had no paper, no pen, nothing prepared. He took any question that came to him, regardless of the topic. He had nothing scripted, and answered truly from his heart. He did not pause. He did not have to, stutter. He was there. He spoke truly, and people supported him. And it is time right now in our country that we need to mourn his loss, and then we need to figure out a way to unify so that these types of attacks don't happen.
Well, you got to figure out a way to keep people safe too. How do you move forward at these type of rallies with anybody who's an activist and make sure that those people are safe?
So the number one responsibility comes down to social media influencers on the Democratic side, as well as elected officials. When you're comparing the President of the United States with Adolf Hitler, calling Republicans neo-Nazis and pushing this vile rhetoric, what do you expect? You cannot call these conservatives that love God, love this country, and love their families, names that are going to obviously incite violence. We need to make sure that we're pushing for unity and making sure that it's clear that Republicans and Democrats are all working for the same cause.
And the same rule applies to Republican radicals out
Absolutely.
there. For instance, the ones who perhaps are the ones who went and did what they did in Minnesota. 4 people were killed. 4 people were shot. 2 people were killed. Minnesota lawmakers, and those were Democratic lawmakers.
Absolutely.
It has to be condemned on both sides.
Absolutely, 100%.
Talk about that.
All sorts of political violence are incorrect, and they should not be supported. And it is up to, like I said, our elected officials to work to unify our country and push for policies that are unifying our country. Find those solutions. Nobody agrees with anyone 100% of the time, but even if you can find that 10-20% that we agree on, we can push for policies that will help our country and help our everyday living.
You think we actually have more in common than not?
Absolutely, 100%.
What was your initial reaction when you heard the news?
I started with being devastated. Charlie Kirk was someone that got me into politics, someone who I always looked up to and was inspired to, but I was also angry. He was a leader for young conservatives across the country, brought so many people into politics and opened up open dialogue for us. And then seeing him being shot, seeing his young children and his wife Erica, and just seeing how much this much hurt for the family as well as the entire country, it's given me a lot of anger, but I know that it's time that we must unify as a country and must work together to make sure that we're pushing for peace and unity.
This is still obviously a very fresh story, and already people are coming to the table with what they believe are solutions, saying, hey, we need stricter gun laws.
This isn't a gun issue. This was a gun-free zone where this happened. If you ban guns, do you think criminals will listen? Do you think a sign will stop them? No. Who did we call when this shooting happened? The police, the people with the guns. This problem isn't the guns. The problem is the mental health and the vile rhetoric. We need to put an end to the rhetoric that is pushing for violence. We need to put to end the type of inciting of this violence and make sure that it's a issue that we can solve immediately, because more people should not be killed and more children should not lose their father over their political ideology.
What is Charlie Kirk's legacy?
Charlie Kirk has built a foundation for individuals to think freely, think openly, and have good civil dialogue. In politics, it was always something looked down upon. People used to shy away from politics at the dinner table, not bring it up. But Charlie Kirk made it so that people can have open discussions and not only challenge what others think, but also challenge what they think themselves. And have these conversations, bring them to the college campuses, where college campuses used to lean 100% for liberal and 100% Democrat. But if we look at it, last cycle, President Trump won the youth vote in the state of Michigan. So that shows the shift that Charlie Kirk has brought and will continue to bring and build. This is the time where Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA are really at their turning point and will continue to grow.
Fresh, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Disney and the ABC network are taking Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely. This follows a controversy over comments the late night comedian made.
look at that. It says ABC Network pulls Jimmy Kimmel show indefinitely after comedian's remarks about Charlie Kirk's murder. Wow. So stupid. Really, Jimmy Kimmel. All right, so let's switch gears. Let's go over to Aaron Page, where he's talking about the Charlie Kirk situation just took an even darker turn. This is when he's reacting to something by Candace Owens.
Candace Owens has been revealing that she believes that there's much more to the Charlie Kirk situation than what we know right now. And this is leading people to question whether or not we have the right person in custody, if there was an extra person involved, or even if there were other countries involved in what took place, okay? I want to show you guys some of the videos that I found, and then we can talk about it. This right here is insane. Okay, let's go ahead and hop into this video, watch it, and react to it. Before we do me a quick favor. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm so that this video can reach more people like yourself. I truly appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and hop in.
The woods, okay? Then we get, and this has not been contextualized, and I can't wait until it is contextualized, we get photos that are the shooter. This is when the FBI came out and said, he's in a stairwell. We don't know exactly where that stairwell is. He's in outfit number 2, so the outfit change has happened, okay? There's no timeline again, but we can discern that there is no weapon that is in his pant leg, because we can see him bending one leg in one photo, we can see him bending the other leg in another photo. So we're unclear about this. What is clear is that there is a ton of cameras on this campus. There is a lot of footage that they could release to make the public feel better about this. I mean, tons of different angles. I don't know why we're getting grainy shots at all. There have been tons of people online going through the tech stack of UVU campus and saying like, hey, why are we getting grainy? Why don't you give us clear images? In fact, you guys could show us an image here, 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 here. They're not doing that. They're just going with this like grainy image and saying that's it. And you can get this grainy image, but we can't tell you much more. Now, again, it's an open investigation. They're under a lot of pressure. There is no question. I'm certainly not going to let this go. And I want the public to not let this go, because you were spiritually impacted by watching a man be publicly executed. And you need to keep that energy and understand that something is very wrong here. Nothing they are saying feels good to me. Honestly, the thing that they said that felt the best to me is when they said that there's probably somebody else involved. That sounds about right. 2 people, maybe these aren't even the same people. Maybe the guy in the maroon is not the same as the guy in the black shirt. That would make sense, because why change your outfit? Both of these look like you would blend in on a college campus, so why are you blending in twice? Does that make any sense to you? Why would you change your outfit? It's like a random fashion show while you're going to murder someone? I just want to change my outfit for funsies. And then we hear that Tyler Robinson, when he's apprehended, it is communicated to us that he is wearing the maroon outfit. Now, I want to be clear. They said this was 33 hours later. So he changed his outfit, I mean, ostensibly because he wants to avoid detection, would be the only thing that's, I think, is reasonable to assume. But then he changes back into the outfit that he was wearing before the shooting. For what reason? 33 hours later, like no shower time? He's wanted them to know that it was him on the camera. That's not clear to me. Why are we changing outfits? Are we just 2 different people? I think it's reasonable to ask that question. Are there 2 different people that are involved who were at this meeting and nobody is willing to go on record? They're all messaging each other, trying to figure out a coordinated response to say that, no, this was all quite cordial, but no one wants to go on record and describe it as cordial because they know someone's leaking, because someone's got a guilty conscience about what happened at the Hamptons. So I will again put it out there, Seth, Bill Ackman, and to the other individuals who I have not yet named, but who are going to be named later this week, who were at the Hamptons when Charlie was put under pressure, when Bibi Netanyahu called him and invited him to Israel, again in a move that wouldn't happen to me, and it wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, felt to me like a laced threat. I am inviting you guys, I will give you my platform, actually, to come clear matters up and tell us there's no reason to lie. Bibi could have gone on Fox News and he could have told the truth. He could have said truthfully Charlie Kirk has always loved Israel. He has always loved Israel as the Holy Land. He's been here many times, and throughout his career, he has been a faithful supporter of Israel. That's not what he said. Okay? He talks about the phone call and didn't give it the proper context. He held up the letter and didn't give it the proper context. And lies by severe omission, I'd like to be very clear, are lies. Lies by severe omission are lies. And you're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed. That pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen. Just a second as we...
That Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine, and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz-kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do. Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
I ain't gonna lie. I didn't know that Charlie Kirk was diving into the Epstein situation that much. And that does bring a new perspective to what took place. It brings a new perspective. That's crazy. And it's even more shocking. I wonder when he did that video to the time when he passed away, how long was that span of time? This is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, it seems to conflict with Phoebe's narrative a little bit, yeah? Just a tiny bit. I do want to say this, it's important because I am angry. I will obviously, I pray to move on from this phase, but it's a fire in my belly right now. To those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're gonna follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me, okay? And I want you guys to understand, this is not a threat, this is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages, I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now, don't do it, okay? Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair, telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages, and many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who by the way is Jewish, how could how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. And that amount of pressure towards the end, as you see that conversation now with Meghan was just a month before he lost his life, really, I would say, reached a pinnacle of sorts on the matter of what Tucker Carlson actually said on that stage. Tucker Carlson, while he was on that stage at Turning Point, brought up Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a billionaire, obviously. He is also an extremely litigious billionaire. And Bill Ackman was on Charlie about comments that Tucker Carlson had made on that stage. Tucker Carlson specifically asked the question, where does Bill Ackman's money come from? You know, who is this guy? Actually, who is this guy that has this much influence? And like I said, Bill Ackman was not happy about this. And so I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware, you've been spying on us for years, to maybe track down the killer, but I guess this is where you thought it was best. Do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu and that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life. Charlie was in the Hamptons and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman, because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote-unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you, and he did not provide the receipts. And this is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie Kirk, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. You know, I gotta tell you that. It felt like a threat. Like, not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Maybe would fund it, you know? Spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, what Bibi did include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, you know, re-education camp. You know, we've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. You know, we just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi.
This is dark. This is dark, y'all. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. And yes, we've seen things happen in the past. We've heard of situations in the past, but this right here puts it right in our face. Right in our face. And so now people are questioning whether or not the information that was given to us was accurate, or was it a cover-up, or was it just a blatant lie? And the people that were involved, were they paid off? Were they told, voluntold to do something? This raises a lot of questions. And Candace Owens was very close to Charlie Kirk. I didn't know that at first, but I did see her video, the first one she made, and she was very close to Charlie Kirk. And she's been a part of, you know, a lot of the events that he has done and the situations that he's been in. So one would believe that she has credible information. It's scary, man. But it lets you know, man, you have to stay in your word and keep Jesus right next to you. I mean, don't leave Jesus at all, because there's much more to what's going on than what we know. And there's much more control that is going around, controlling things that we watch, the music that we listen to, the things that blind us from actually watching what's taking place in the world, or even being a part of it. This is crazy. Look, I want to know how you all feel about this. Try not to say anything wrong, okay? I'm trying not to, and I don't want to speak out of turn about what's going on, but you guys heard everything. You heard it all. I don't even have to say much, because you guys heard it. Let me know how y'all feel about this in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, you like what you see, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and hit the post notification bell so you do not miss another video. My name is Aaron Page. I'll catch y'all on the next video. Until next time, I'm out.
Dynamite the Beast. Pre-order now.
Okay, yeah, that's I want to save that for tomorrow, because that's Governor Josh Shapiro. Because there was a shooting in Pennsylvania, so we're gonna switch gears and we're gonna go to the Black Pastors Call Out the Pastors that claim Charlie Kirk was racist. This was frustrating for me. I thought this clip was important.
I've got to be willing to lay my life down, because Jesus, you said that if I save my own natural life, I'll lose my everlasting life. But if I'm willing to lose my natural life through martyrdom, because the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. So these Negroes who claim to be pastors, while at the same time their real God is an idol called blackness, we got work to do, bro. And it ain't against Caucasians. It's against these Negroes that are pastoring these churches that are false and have these people sitting up on them and either being silent because they worrying about the weasels and losers, or they straight out evil because they have not been confronted. And you know who got to confront them? Us.
Yep.
Those that live like this. I have a message. I haven't preached it in a while, but now I'm fired to preach again. It's saying it's this. You brother can go on ahead and use this. Are we kinfolk, Kinfolk, Or are we skin folk? SKINFOLK. Because if we skin folk, we ain't kin folk. But if we kin folk, we're going to stand on thus saith the Lord as a disciple. Forget that Christian nonsense. Now everybody a Christian. I'm surprised the Satanists ain't calling themselves Christians. My jaw's been tight, brothers, since this thing jumped off a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And I saw Kevin, it blessed my soul, because me and him sat right in a meal together with Charlie, even though I never had a chance to talk to Charlie face to face. But when I hear these Negroes in the pulpit talking about Charlie was a racist, and he brought it on himself. And there's one preacher, he had the nerve to start hooping. I said, Negro, you need to sit down.
Yeah, so good question. It's good to be here with you brothers again, and so we can parse the truth. And the bottom line is, I had known Charlie for about 10 years. I met him at a Comic Con conference in Los Angeles. It's been about 10 years I met him there, and that was when he was first starting. So he was kind of shyish and a little bit sheepish at the time. We were in the green room, and I was trying to chop it up with him, but he was a little sheepish at the time, but he was just coming out. And all of my interactions with Charlie, I've never had a situation where he was, or felt a situation where he was, treating me any different or being racist in any way. Of course, I don't wear the racist lens, so it only occurs to me if it's, blatant and malignant. But if people are ignorant by some form, then that doesn't really bother me. But and there's a lot of ignorance out there. But bottom line is Charlie never struck me as any of that, and I spoke at a number of his events, a couple of Marifest. He called me and had us come and speak at his events and participate in panels and those types of things. I know the people that surround him, Rob McCoy, Rob's son, Mickey, and I know, others that are surrounding Charlie or had been surrounding Charlie all these years, discipling him, mentoring him. Here's what's interesting. John 8:32 reminds us that we will know the truth, and it's the truth alone that sets men free. Charlie was merely having genuine conversations with these college campuses. And there was some fruit coming from that. There were the student populations that had been maligned and had been mistreated, by virtue of brainwashing of the Marxists on these campuses. They were losing power. So they felt like, hey, wait a minute. We had this whole swath of young folks. We were poisoning their minds with our Marxism, which would force them to be social activists and vote the way we want. We could chain them to the Democrat plantation like so many others for other reasons. But this segment, this demographic of young, college students, 18 to 30, they thought was theirs. And Charlie showed up and started preaching, or not even preaching, but started to just have conversations. And his conversations were, exposing truth. His conversations were illuminating truth. Mm-hmm. And a lot of college students were therefore being set free. So what happened in this last election, a lot of those big swath of students that they had worked so hard for, that they thoroughly brainwashed, they thought they were theirs. Those college students say, well, no, I think I see a better way here. Charlie and TPUSA is teaching me another thing that really resonates with me. It resonates with my soul. And they started to vote different, and they did vote different, and that is when they lost their minds. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Charlie was standing in the gap, really. Not only the thing that's brilliant about Charlie, and that's irreplaceable, is you had one man that got raised up from obscurity. He wasn't always, in the limelight. His family wasn't willing to do any of that. God raised this young man up, and he was so brilliant because he could take things in, and I don't know whether he had a photographic memory or what, but he can recall mentally, brilliantly, while weaving culture, faith, and truth. Truth grounded in faith, really, but culture, faith, and politics, and provide a context for a young mind that they could begin to see. Now, there's a lot of people that really did not change immediately with Charlie's expositions, but we see now that fruit. You know, the Word of God talks about some plant the seed, some, pour, water it, and then he gets the harvest. He is getting maximum harvest around the world now. Korea, thousands of people. UK, millions of people, 30 million plus people. Israel, naming streets after Charlie Kirk. And all these visuals around the world where thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are now coming to the Lord because of they saw the effect, and because they saw, wait a minute, I don't think Charlie was wrong when he was saying that these people this is a death cult, this is an evil paradigm, an evil cult, sect of people, this whole leftist, progressive, Democrat thing. And so you had this weekend, churches were overflowing with LGBTQ, trans. I've been seeing the testimonies come up on TikTok. Trans people saying, look, I really didn't pay attention a lot when Charlie was here. I heard him and that, but when I saw what happened with him, I decided to go to church for the first time in 10 years. Because what happened with him stayed with me somewhere inside, and now I'm believing. Now, nobody could have anticipated this. We were all, broken-hearted and grief-stricken last week. But now we have literally a worldwide revival. One man, worldwide revival. In our lifetime, there has never been a worldwide. We've had revivals, yes, in certain sections, cities, stadiums, college campuses, states. But worldwide, we see people coming to the Lord, walking to temples and places of faith. This is amazing. So here's the thing. They had to target him and they had to silence him because he was bringing truth. Now in his martyrdom, a lot of people are coming to the Lord. This is a wonderful thing. But one last thing about these pastors that are over this weekend that are speaking in horrible ways about Charlie and about this whole movement, TPUSA. These are people that Matthew 7 talks about, and Matthew 7 talks about, hey, and that last day, didn't I, and say, no, you never had a blessing. Now, I'm not being judgmental. I want to make this point. I'm not being judgmental. What I'm saying is, these are people that think that they're squarely in the faith, but the reality is these are the people that, as Pastor Kraft said, these are people that are the goats. These are people that are really the multitudes. When Jesus talked to the multitudes, they said, yeah. Remember, at the end of all of his talking to the multitudes, you read the Bible carefully, it says, and they believed on him. So these are believers. These pastors. They took the first, they believe, maybe marginally, but they believe. They're not disciples. A disciple is a sheep. They hear the master's voice and they follow. They do what the master says. Now, the master tells us, love even those that despitefully use us, love those that even hate us, pray for those. And these brothers who were preaching this weekend couldn't say a prayer for his family, didn't have to show a morsel of compassion for his lovely wife, his beautiful children, his network of believers that's hurt and grief-stricken. They had no love for any of that. All they wanted was contempt. And they really wanted to just step on this brother's grave. So with that, you see their fruit. And the church, the people that are in their churches, they have to understand that they're following people that are following another gospel. This is a social justice, social activism gospel. And Galatians 1:8, 1:9 tells us very clearly what happens there. These people are cursed, the pastor, and anybody in his sanctuary that's imbibing that foolishness is also cursed. So if I were them, I'd get out of there as quickly as possible, because these pastors that are going to keep you, they're going to drive you, they're playing with the existential threat to your very soul, and you're not going to be healed with that. Sorry it took so long.
The criticism from the African American community, you could be talking about hamburgers and ice cream, they're going to call you a racist. I mean, that's just a go-to card. They're going to call you a racist no matter what happens, no matter what you do, because it seems like that's the only card that they really have. Again, no one's perfect. You can criticize Charlie Kirk, but racism, it doesn't make sense to me. Here's the sad reality about Charlie Kirk, concerning Charlie Kirk. He had more courage than 99.99% of so-called pastors in America. And that's a shame that a 31-year-old guy showed more courage than the so-called pastor. That is a blight on the so-called church.
Some of my kids are top of their class, and I fully attribute IXL to helping them reach that goal because.
All right, so we're gonna move to shout out to Pastor Anthony Phillip. Every day here on the live stream, we try to end the live stream with a Christian clip. So here's Pastor Anthony Phillip, Pastor Philip Anthony reacting to Philip Anthony Mitchell reacting to Charlie Kirk's death. Let's take a listen.
You all go on. There is no more speech from the grave. You all go on. There is no more speech from the grave. There is nothing else that you can fix or no apologies you can make. There's no beef you can reconcile. Now is the time to do those things. Now is the time to reconcile and forgive and love and to be honest, not even as a pastor, but as a human being, my heart is even more broken because not only this week was we reminded that tomorrow's not promised to anyone, but this week we saw in full display the great depravity of human beings, the evil that is bound up in the hearts of men and women. Both the evil that takes life and the evil that celebrates the taking of life. Both are evil. For the scripture condemns the unjust taking of life, and the scripture condemns glorying in the calamity of another person. And that even our enemies or people we disagree with, we should not find pleasure in the calamity of another human being that is wicked and it is ungodly. Only a fool spews everything that they feel to make their ignorance palpable before men. And I tell you, as a shepherd, policy will not fix this nation. And 47 or 48 will not fix this nation. Doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, and I am a conservative, but 47 or 48, whoever's coming next, policy's not going to fix this nation. The only hope for humanity is Christ and the ongoing spread of the gospel that transforms the hearts of men from the inside out. It is only the power of the Holy Spirit that zips up a man with the righteousness of Christ that has the power to transform people from the inside out. Not policy, not presidents. And what we need right now is the cry of God to his people during the building of the temple in the days of Solomon. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, the church, not the world. If the people of God will turn from their wicked ways, so we stop pointing fingers outside. If the people of God will turn from their wicked ways, their phony ways, their sinful ways, if the people of God will turn from their foolish ways.
Disney and the ABC.
I appreciate Pastor
You are
Philip
gone.
Anthony
There is
Mitchell.
no more speech from the group.
Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell, he's dope. I listen to a lot of things by him. He's a very bold pastor. Very bold brother in Christ, and I appreciate him. So thank you guys for chilling on the corner. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream there. We will be back tomorrow with the daily live stream. So until then, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, love yourselves, love one another, be peaceful. Peace.